The year is 1763. Britain and her American colonies are celebrating victory. They have defeated the French in the French and Indian War, securing control of North America. A sense of pride and unity fills the air. But this joyous mood will be short-lived. Seeds of discontent are being sown. The seeds will soon blossom into open rebellion. The British government faces a dilemma. Fighting a war is costly. They need to replenish their coffers. Their solution? Tax the colonies. After all, the war was fought in part to protect the colonies. The colonists, however, see things differently. They are accustomed to self-government. They resent the imposition of taxes without their consent. The Stamp Act of 1765 is a turning point. It requires colonists to pay a tax on all printed materials. Newspapers, legal documents, even playing cards all require a stamp. Outrage erupts across the colonies. No taxation without representation becomes the rallying cry. The colonists boycott British goods. Protests erupt in the streets. The British government, taken aback by the vehemence of the reaction, eventually repeals the Stamp Act. But the damage is done. The relationship between Britain and her American colonies is irrevocably broken. Despite repealing the Stamp Act, the British government refuses to relinquish its control over colonial affairs. They pass a series of new taxes, known as the Townshend Acts in 1767. These acts levy taxes on tea, glass, lead, and other goods imported from Britain. Once again, the colonists cry foul. They see these taxes as a blatant attempt to raise revenue without their consent. The colonists respond with renewed fervor. They organize boycotts of British goods, establish committees of correspondence to share information and coordinate resistance, and engage in acts of defiance against British authority. Tensions escalate with each passing day. The stage is set for a showdown. In 1770, a clash between British troops and colonists in Boston, known as the Boston Massacre, further inflames tensions. 5 colonists are killed when British soldiers fire into a crowd. The incident sends shockwaves throughout the colonies. It becomes a powerful symbol of British oppression. 3 years later, in 1773, the Boston Tea Party takes place. A group of colonists disguised as Native Americans board British ships in Boston Harbor and dump 342 chests of tea into the water. This act of defiance is a direct challenge to British authority. It pushes the two sides closer to the brink of war. The British government responds to the Boston Tea Party with outrage. They pass a series of punitive measures known as the Intolerable Acts, designed to punish Massachusetts and bring the colonies to heel. These acts close the port of Boston, restrict colonial self-government, and quarter British troops in colonial homes. The colonists view the Intolerable Acts as an assault on their liberties. The other colonies rally around Massachusetts, providing support and supplies. In September 1774, representatives from 12 colonies meet in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. They petition King George III for redress of grievances and call for a boycott of British goods. The situation deteriorates rapidly. In April 1775, British troops marched to Lexington and conquered Massachusetts to seize colonial military supplies. Colonial militiamen, alerted by Paul Revere's famous ride, confront the British at Lexington. Shots are fired and the American Revolution begins. The battles of Lexington and Concord are the first skirmishes of a long and bloody conflict. These shots heard round the world signal the beginning of America's fight for independence. As the war for independence begins, a ragtag Continental Army is formed to fight the mighty British forces. The task of leading this fledgling army falls upon the shoulders of a Virginia planter named George Washington. Washington, a veteran of the French and Indian War, is a man of unwavering determination and quiet strength. Washington faces daunting challenges. His army is outnumbered, outgunned, and poorly supplied. But he is an inspirational leader, and his men are fighting for a cause they believe in: liberty. Washington's leadership will prove crucial in guiding the Continental Army through the darkest days of the war. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, a group of brilliant minds is hard at work shaping the future of the new nation. Among them is Thomas Jefferson, a Virginia lawyer and writer. Jefferson is tasked with drafting a document that will declare the colony's independence from Great Britain. Jefferson's words are both revolutionary and timeless. He writes of natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that all men are endowed with. He argues that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, and he declares that the colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. Section 5. A Declaration of Freedom. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress formally adopts the Declaration of Independence. This momentous document, largely penned by Thomas Jefferson, proclaims to the world the reasons for the colony's separation from Great Britain. It is a testament to the enduring power of ideas. The Declaration of Independence is a beacon of hope and inspiration. It declares that all men are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights. These rights are not granted by any government or king, but are inherent in every human being by virtue of their existence. The document lists a litany of grievances against King George III and the British government. It accuses them of tyranny and oppression, of violating the colonists' natural rights, and of ignoring their pleas for redress. It argues that the colonies have no choice but to declare their independence and fight for their freedom. The Declaration of Independence is a powerful call to action. It inspires the colonists to fight for their freedom and motivates other nations to support their cause. It establishes the principles of self-government and individual liberty that will shape the United States for centuries to come. The early years of the Revolutionary War are difficult for the Continental Army. Washington's troops are often forced to retreat, suffering defeats at the hands of the better-equipped British Army. But the tide begins to turn in 1777 with a decisive victory at the Battle of Saratoga. Saratoga is a turning point in the war. The American victory convinces France, eager to see their old enemy Britain weakened, to formally ally with the United States. Spain and the Netherlands will later join the war against Britain, providing much-needed support to the American cause. The French alliance proves crucial. France provides the Continental Army with much-needed supplies, weapons, and naval support. French troops fight alongside American soldiers, and French warships challenge British dominance at sea. The entry of France into the war transforms the conflict from a colonial rebellion into a global war. The Battle of Saratoga and the subsequent French alliance mark a turning point in the American Revolution. They demonstrate the growing strength of the American forces and the international support for their cause. The war drags on for several more years, but the momentum has shifted. Washington's leadership keeps the Continental Army together through hardships and setbacks. The British, facing a determined enemy and a growing war weariness at home, finally begin to falter. In 1781, a combined Franco-American force traps a British army under General Cornwallis at Yorktown, Virginia. The siege of Yorktown proves decisive. Cut off from escape and bombarded by land and sea, Cornwallis surrenders his army on October 19, 1781. The British defeat at Yorktown effectively ends the war. 2 years later, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris is signed, formally recognizing the independence of the United States of America. The 13 colonies have won their freedom, and established a new nation founded on the principles of liberty and self-government. The American Revolution is a triumph against all odds. A small group of colonies with limited resources and facing a powerful empire has emerged victorious. They have secured their independence and established a new form of government based on the consent of the governed. The American Revolution has a profound and lasting impact on the United States and the world. It inspires other nations to fight for their own independence and serves as a model for democratic revolutions across the globe. In the United States, the revolution leads to the creation of a new form of government based on the principles of popular sovereignty, limited government, and individual rights. The Constitution, adopted in 1787, establishes a federal republic with a system of checks and balances designed to prevent tyranny and protect individual liberties. The revolution also inspires a spirit of innovation and progress in the United States. The newly formed nation embraces ideals of self-reliance, hard work, and entrepreneurial spirit. This leads to westward expansion, technological advancements, and economic growth. The American Revolution leaves an indelible mark on the world. It helps to usher in an era of democratic revolutions, inspires movements for independence and self-determination, and contributes to the spread of Enlightenment ideals. The echoes of 1776 can still be heard today. The principles of liberty, equality, and self-government enshrined in the Declaration of Independence continue to inspire people around the world. The United States, founded on the ideals of the Revolution, remains a beacon of hope and freedom for many. Its constitution, a testament to the enduring power of ideas, continues to serve as a model for democratic governance. The American Revolution was not just a war for independence, it was a fight for ideas. It was a struggle for liberty, for self-government, and for the right of all people to pursue happiness. These ideals, forged in the crucible of revolution, remain as relevant and powerful today as they were in 1776.